Unpleasant beeping sound could be heard, which was undoubtedly coming from the car that was destroyed to its fullest. Hood of the car was crushed badly. It was a massive damage indeed, but nothing compared to the one crumbling down. Wiping off that vaguely present blood on his forehead, his evil laugh echoed. Circulate the news all around. The beast is dead. That so-called mafia ruler is dead. There was that dark, eerie, pervaded grin on everybody's face, giving that look of great success to each other as if they seized the end of the world. Now you all should know who the boss is. Everyone in the room was amazed seeing the psychotic features of that man. Nobody thought that he would be this much affected by that particular person's death. The grin on his face was evidence of his dark internal serenity he was feeling at that moment. He is dead. Finally the disgrace of mafias is gone. Wish I could do this holy work from my hand, but his death was not written by me, or I would have killed him that day only. Remember this day. It will be celebrated always. One of his men brought a fancy plus expensive-looking champagne bottle wrapped around with white designer cloth. Everybody cheered their lungs out as the celebration began. I can't see them no more. Do you think we are safe, or it's a trap? Are you sure there's no one? I've been driving for a while now. I didn't see a single car following us. His body was dropped back on the seat as he closed his eyes slowly. My eyes captured his condition that made my heart clenched more every single second. I was just driving senseless, not knowing where to go, what to do. I wanted to stop the car right there, but was also scared. What if they came out of nowhere? Car stopped as there was a little frown visible on his face. What's happening? Not wasting a second, she removed her seatbelt, turning towards him. Getting close to his seat, she gulped her tears, seeing his clothes covered in blood again. She saw him taking a slow gulp as he nodded slowly. Tilting her head, adoring him with a sad smile, she caressed his sunny cheek as he gave in to her touch. Her expression changed with her slightly opened mouth, making her heart flutter. His face was resting on her hand as he said weakly, "We need to leave from here. You'll be able to drive for long? Is there any place we can go? Okay, tell me the location and leave it to me." He briefed the location as she heard him carefully. I was trying to process what he exactly explained. I wanted to caution him more about it, but we didn't have much time. I just kept listening to him. "But we have to do something about your wound." "It's not bleeding no more. I'll be fine." She sighed heavily and carefully took her hand back. She could see the instant frown on his face as the warmth detached from his cheek. There was a vague smile on her rosy-tinted face. Twisting the keys, the car started again. She was ready to leave everything behind and moving ahead, but this one thought flashed in her mind that made her chuckle inside. She always wished to be with him alone, and now God was making that come true in his own way. The guy standing there was losing his temper with every second passing by, cursing for the nth time now. He shouted again, "How do you not know where they are?" "We did try it, but keeping their track was not possible." "The last thing you informed me was that they turned to a street. I ordered you to inform me everything side by side. Then what happened?" I'm sorry, but just tell me what happened after they turned." As we planned, our man was there replicating their car. We got the perfect time and confused them. When Miss Wyan turned, it was so crowded at that time, which didn't help, but made it more difficult for us to find them. Pushed his hair back, cursing under his breath. He couldn't listen to him more. Clenching his jaw, he threw his phone with all the force he had, and it landed directly in the water. Resting his both arms on railing, he was breathing heavily. Exhaling, he straightened his posture, looking at the mesmerizing sunset that was nothing but a sight of the end of one hectic day for him. Turning his back to the view, he left to his car, parked there, and drove away in a blink. Daylight was already replaced by the night sky, but they were still on their way. Even the moon was tired seeing that conversation they had on their way. Now it all came to an end. Everything did came to an end. Now it was lull after the storm. "If I'm not wrong, we are exactly where you told me. Now mind telling me who lives here?" "Why you have so many questions?" "What does that mean? That was just a basic..." Though he couldn't see, but turned his head listening to her voice. No one lives here. Got your answer? Now happy? What? But you said that you know a place where we can stay. I did felt weird, but when you told me about this location, still I drove this long. I trusted you. Just stop at the very first house you'll see here. Just now you said no one lives here. Don't open your mouth to talk to me. I can't hear your voice anymore. Just do what I said, that's all. A little pout formed on her lips as she didn't say anything further. Now that everything was coming back to normal, she was happy, but a little scared. It felt like he was coming back to his old self too. It's not like she hates how he is, but the way he behaves with her, that surely make her sad. There is it, I guess. I'll drive to there. Not even giving him a chance to speak, she just drove towards it. After all the distance they covered, finally the car stopped. Looking at the mansion in front of her, she was amazed indeed, as this was way more beautiful than their house. Will you be able to get up? God, not again. Once again, he just left the car. Doesn't matter if it was painful or not, he just went away. This reminded me of that day when we went to meet my father. I chuckled seeing how stubborn he is. It looks same as that day. The only difference is today he's able to go ahead on his own. He's familiar to this place. Frown was there on her face as she instantly left the car. She was behind him. He stumbled and was about to fall until she grabbed his arms. Those hands again. Why every time saving me? Why? All this time I'm not even able to get mad at you. I'm feeling so stupid to act mad when I'm not. Can you please stop for once? Why don't you accept you are weak right now? I'm not stupid. What? I never said that though. Sighing, he pushed her hands away slowly. At least tell me who lives here. Told you before, no one. It's us. We are going to live here. This is my place. Saying that with straight face, he started walking towards the door. Is this really happening? We are going to live here? Alone? No more killing or fighting? I couldn't help but smile widely. She called him from behind. What is it? We should clean this up and I'll do that myself. You can freshen up. And I don't think there are clothes for you, so just... It's okay, I'll wear one of yours. Don't you even dare. Also, we're going to live here all alone, right? No mates? No one. I called the maids a week ago to clean this place. Never knew I'll make visit here so soon. Moreover with you. Be careful now. I might take advantage of your condition. Frowning, he turned around and walked ahead. Sensing where she is, he instantly grabbed her hand, pulling her towards him, as she ended up bumping to his chest. How? Yo, what is it? Unknowingly, this time she was blushing being so close to him, looking up to his face as their faces were literally inches apart. Why saying something which you can never do? She couldn't deny how dangerous he looked like that, but being so close to him, she felt how unstable his breathing was. He must be in pain. She didn't want to take it further. He needed to rest. That's all she could think of. His grip around my hand loosened as he backed off and without uttering a word went upstairs. A heavy sigh left my mouth. This man is not easy. He disappeared from my side. I could feel nothing but for it. His wound was bleeding. I almost forgot about that. What if it'll get infected? No, that'll make it worse. She saw him getting inside the room and was about to enter, but her steps halted. As soon as he was in the room, his body was all ready to give up and fall until he took the support of the glass wall. Her mind was warning her to not go further, but her heart was telling her to be with him. He was so weak at that moment, but was not ready to accept it. I wanted to ask him why, just why he's trying to be so hard on himself, why he's not letting me take care of him. What is it that always stops him? I was trying so hard to be strong, but seeing him not able to stand properly, his unstable steps, his uneven breathing, and most squeezed open his eyes and tried to maintain his balance, he started unbuttoning his shirt with his shaky hands. He was standing back facing her as she couldn't look at his state properly. Still her eyes didn't left his side. She kept looking at him until he removed his shirt and threw it aside, giving her a whole view of his well-built broad back. What is wrong with me? These thoughts are not meant to be for this situation. Sighing, she looked at him again, only to find him tilting his head as if he wanted something. He turned towards the bed and, getting his hand out, searched for the shirt that he unknowingly threw on the bed. Her brows raised as she couldn't get what he was trying to do. Getting the hold on that already stained shirt, he started wiping his wound. Is this man for real? I was still feeling blood dripping off my waist. I was just cleaning it up until I felt someone grabbing my hand from behind. Front took over my face, as who else it could be. Gritting his teeth, he turned around weakly, towering her petite body. She looked up, trying to say something, but couldn't get anything out. Should I just put a board everywhere that'll say you are not allowed to come near me? What do you even want? They were already standing so close, but he still took his steps ahead, only to make her look here and there nervously and move back unstably. He was coming closer by every second passing. Unconsciously, her hand came forward to stop him, but landed directly to his wounded area, making him groan, while clenching on her hand immediately. His head hung down in anger, as his clenched on her wrist tighter. Her eyes widened as she could feel the blood plastered on her fingers now. At last, that's what you came for, to make me suffer. You are no different from others. There was a deep silence for some seconds. The hold he had on her hand tightened for the last time as he threw her hand aside coldly. There was disbelief look on her face as she scoffed sarcastically. Like everybody, to make you suffer? Yes, exactly, that's why I came to you. Why it hurts. Why it hurts listening to her saying that. You surely have no heart, but I never knew you are brainless too. You don't think twice while saying anything, right? You don't really care about anyone. I know you'll never do, but okay, I don't expect anything from you. But how dare you think that I don't care for you? How dare you think that I came here to make you suffer? How dare you? He was standing there all blank, trying to fight his pain and listen to only her. Why you always change in a blink? Tell me why. What happened to you after that night? Don't you remember anything? What did I even do that you became extra rude towards me? You didn't even like my presence. Why? And talking about the present situation, why you were again acting like that? Not now. Just go away. Why? Why don't you give me a valid answer? What's the reason you are always pushing me away just because you are making me vulnerable and I hate that? Tears already prickled down her face as she frowned, trying to understand what he meant. Who are you? My wife? That's just a tag. Then why are you caring for me? No one ever did that. Then why you? And that night, I was not supposed to be in your arms feeling secure. I don't need anybody. Every time you are there, I'm just losing myself in every possible way. Why are you doing this? She looked at him tensed as he was looking breathless and could fall any time. I'm here to make everyone suffer. I waited for the right time all these years. I did everything I could do, but today, they did succeeded. They did one win, right? He was looking more devastated than her. He was losing himself for real. Her gaze landed down to his shaky hands. It took her no time. She was quick enough to take his hands in her. I was witnessing a different side of his. It was his broken side. The first time I saw him in the eyes was on our wedding day. That day too I saw some kind of emotions in those grey orbs. Now I know what was it about all along. I couldn't help. His hands were cold as ice. I knew he hates this. I'm losing myself again. Before she could say anything, he fell down, sitting on the ground, while his back resting on that glass wall. She tried to hold him, but couldn't, as just kneeled down in front of him, dropping his head back, his eyes closed. Nothing came out of his mouth that made her cup his face. Suddenly she blinked twice, feeling his face heated up and turning red out of nowhere. Is he having fever now? Let's talk about this later. You need to clean up and wear your clothes first. Your hands are warm. She sadly chuckled, looking down. She couldn't really get that man. He does the same thing again and again, then forgets everything afterwards, and behaves completely opposite. Will you get up now? He slowly opened his eyes, giving her a vague view of his grey orbs again. He was saying anything now, but that was just some agony-filled messages he was giving. Yes, I'm right in front of you. You got it right. I can see everything, you know, right? Yes, you can. Even see things that no one can see. Now get up. You again going to take care of me? She sighed, listening to his never-ending questions. Not saying anything, she grabbed his hands, supporting him carefully to get up. As he did, stood straight, and she helped him to get on the bed. I'll bring a spare cloth. Till then you lay down here. It was hard to understand my heart. Why it acts like that when she's close to me. I want to hate you, but why I'm not able to do that? Why you are always stopping me? My heart feels at ease now. Your touch calms me down. That warmth I want only for myself. At the end you are always with me. Why? My fastened step ceased when I reached in front of him. His cheeks turned reddish, his eyes were closed, while he was breathing through his slightly opened mouth. Taking my hand towards his cheek, my eyelids pulled up. His body was generating more heat. I could feel him shiver, but I had no other choice. I pulled the duvet aside as his left my mouth. This poor thing. I'm going to clean your wounds. Hold tight, it may hurt. He didn't say anything and his eyes remained closed. She grabbed the cloth and dipped it in the water-filled bowl that she brought with her earlier. Gulping the lump formed in her throat, she started wiping. It's paining a lot? She kept doing her work as he didn't respond. After some good minutes, she kept that cloth aside. His wound was cleaned, but needed to be dressed. She thought for a minute that what should be done now, too scared to call the doctor. What if everyone will find he's here? I don't know when this all going to end, but I can promise you I'll be with you every single day, every single hour, every single minute, or a second. Sniffing, taking her tears in, she looked here and there before getting up. Before she could go anywhere, she felt a soft hold on her hand, a hold which was clearly not strong enough to make her stop. Are you really like them? There was that softness in his voice, sort of pleading or a dull hope. It was confusing, but this was the first time she heard him talking like that. Why don't you ask this to yourself? What do you think? Just tell me. Getting a seat beside him on bed, she intertwined her hand with his. It was not easy, as her heart was feeling many things, but the moment was easy access for her. Who will send me to you? No one did. It was my choice to come to you. So, you are really the first person? Are you really the first one to be real with me? What does that... Her eyes widened. His tears were dropping down. He was talking with tears streaming down. This was the one shocking thing for her. Tried to speak, but nothing came out her mouth. Please do something. I don't want to be like this. I'm not weak. Her mind was messed up. The man she loved was breaking down in front of her. The man she loved was in the worst condition ever. He was tearing with his already red cheeks due to fever. His wound was still bleeding a little, and his unstoppable shivering. She didn't know what she should be carrying first. It took her no time. His grip tightened around her hand as his tear-streaming eyes were glued in one direction. Before she could even think of something, she felt his hand pulling her closer every other second, as if he was telling her that he needs her. She saw him shiver for the last time and she couldn't take it anymore. She left his hand. His hand reached forward to sense her, but nothing worked until he felt movement on the other side of the bed and the door pulled up, covering him. Soft sobbing sound never stopped as he turned to that direction. I adjusted myself, and the moment I looked at him, I lost myself. He did turn to my direction, but his orbs were not on me, but the way he was present in front of me. It was a rare view indeed. His cheeks and brows were already flushed red. His face was having a different glow, but tiny tears were dropping off. Suddenly it was all silent. The only thing I could feel was the warmth that she was giving me. I never felt something like that. There was this serenity in the darkness, so this is how it feels like to have someone by your side. This is the vulnerability I was talking about, but that time I didn't think of anything, only her. She was embracing him carefully not to touch his wound, but he was the one pulled her closer by her waist. Her heart stopped as her eyes widened. He kept tightening his grip around her small waist, making sure not even air could pass between them. The little blood coming out of his wound was now on her clothes. You don't do that, you. I never had someone by my side. His voice was low as he sobbed non-stop. What he said made me stop for that moment. It was happening for real. He's willing to tell me everything. There was no one. I had no one with me. Your father? He's someone who wishes my death. All this time you wanted to know me, right? I know. You think he's the good guy in the book, but he's the devil. He was ready to kill me the day I was born. But why? There was silence as his embrace tightened around her waist, making her clothed body stick to his shirtless one. She understood him somehow and softly hugged him back. I was born with a disability. I'm just a blind man. The only guy with a disability here is him. He's the guy having some serious issues with his brain. You are perfect. Everything was so new for that man. The little comforting words were too much to handle for him, as his dry tears now were replaced by the new one. I've never seen my mother. When I was born, my mother saved me from him, but that man killed her instead of me. She died because of me. Your mother will be sad listening to this. She gave you her life. She wanted you to live for her. It's not because of you. Even if someone's at fault, it's always be him. Not only him, but there's no one. People working in my own house wanted me to be dead. I accepted everything. She felt her shoulder getting wet. Surely it was his tears only, trying to back off to see him, but he didn't let her, and just kept burying his face in her crook of the neck. She was able to feel his hot breath hitting her skin as he was inhaling from his mouth, but all she did was smiling sadly. "You are so wrong. They were wishing for your death, but you are here with me. They failed, and you won." "I don't need anyone but she. I'll die now if she'll tell me that she's with them. Anyone, but not her. Just leave her with me." She never stopped caressing his soft hair, while his grip around her never loosened, as if she'll vanish if he'll leave her for a second. That was one long night, having its own beauty. His life was colorless, but she was helping him color it with her broken crayons. She was healing him selflessly. Her heart already accepted the fact that his love is not for her, but they say most beautiful things knock unexpectedly. She did fell first, but will he fell harder?